Good morning, students. Now, in this subject, engineering geology, we are in the fourth unit. The subtopic is groundwater exploration techniques. So, we are using I will explain step by step clearly here groundwater exploration techniques. Guys, just you like your observer, like groundwater exploration techniques. Here, 5 process is there. The groundwater exploration techniques are 5 process is there. The first one is the general approach. Second one is the purpose of preliminary survey, and third one is preliminary hydrogeological survey, I mean methodology, and fourth one is additional investigations required for continuous aquifers is the fourth one, and additional investigations required for discontinuous aquifers. So these these five steps are the important in groundwater exploration techniques. The first one is the general approach. The operations to be in what we have to the follow in the general approach. The operations to be carried out here, guys, you observe the my cursor. The operations to be carried out for a groundwater development project may be subdivided into a preliminary survey at the regional scale and a detailed survey to select best well locations. Guys, I will explain clearly. A preliminary survey at the regional scale means first, if we want to identify a water well, first we have to observe the outcrop means what we see in for example, a farmer come to us. He asked to identify a bore well. So we are going to in his crop field. So we have to observe when we are going to their cropping field, just what is type of rocks is there, how many wells existing near or far away from the farmer crop well. Is there any different type of rocks or a single is there any single rock? So we have to, these are our observations. These are all called the outcrop studies, or these outcrop studies are belongs to the preliminary survey also, that is called a regional scale. Here, a detailed survey to select the best well locations means, here I want to give one example. Okay, after we went to a farmer cropping land, first we have to observe, is there any surrounding drilling wells or not? If is there any wells, we need to ask the farmers at what depth we received the good water, and at the time of drilling what depth they are going to drill, and what type of rocks observed. But farmers also don't know, but to the best of their knowledge, they will reveal to us what they identified. So that survey is very help to geologists to identify the groundwater potential area in this crop selection. So guys, the purpose of preliminary survey. So in general approach also, two reasons is there: a preliminary survey at a regional scale, a detailed survey to select the best well locations. Here, purpose of preliminary survey. The main objective of a preliminary survey is to minimize the cost of groundwater development. Planning a preliminary groundwater survey includes minimizing the total cost of study and the implementation of the groundwater development project. It is essential to keep this concept in mind in order to avoid oversizing the study in relation to the expected final groundwater development. The importance of the exploration phase of the project should not be neglected. particularly in areas of discontinuous aquifers where little information is available. The results to be expected from a preliminary survey are summarized below. A. Identification of aquifers and estimation of their characteristics. That is the first we have to do the check the geological settings. Geological settings, hydraulic continuity, and groundwater quantity and quality assessment and expected water demand, depth to water from the ground, and physical characteristics of the formation to be penetrated to reach water. So I will explain here, guys. From this identification of aquifer and the estimation of their characteristics means first one is the geological settings. Geological settings means if you so what is the aquifer? Aquifer means how many types of rocks is there? Is there any fracture or joint or seepage, or is it there in the limestone, or is there any metamorphic rock? Is there any igneous rock? For example, if metamorphic rock, what type of layers is there, and what is the mineralogical composition is there? These all things we need to assess, and these all aspects are depending upon the geological settings. The next one is the hydraulic continuity. Hydraulic continuity is the important to, even though if we identify aquifer, that is not a help to the farmer. The hydraulic continuity is the important in the aquifer. That is the only help to the farmer. Hydraulic continuity means when we, for example, if we drill a well, a water available in that water comes through a well from the source of point. That source of point is important when they existing on the surface of the earth. So that is internal connected to this aquifer. When rainfall or something is there, after rainfall, the water infiltration through this porous permeability and porous media, and the water comes to the here. So that is importance of the hydraulic continuity. Next, groundwater quantity and quality assessment and expected water demand. For example, after these all things, even though we identify a aquifer water, if that water is not sufficient for the water demand, there is no use. So that is also one of the good aspect. And also in some water, in some cases, even though we identified the groundwater quantity is sufficient, but quality is not good. So quantity or quality, whether it is at least a single one is not good, there is no useful to even to identify these all things. Next one is the depth to water from the ground. So from the ground surface, at what depth we identified, or at what depth groundwater available, that is also important thing. Next one is the physical characteristics of the formation to be penetrated to reach water. Physical characteristics of the formation to be penetrated to reach water. Physical characteristics means here some geophysical instruments we have to use to penetrate the to reach water. And guys, here identify appropriate development methods. Performance of dug or drill wells, well depth, diameter, and where wells are open co-aquifer, construction methods, technical specifications, use of local or imported techniques, costs. So selection of pumps or water lifting devices. Here guys, assessment of the risk of failure. A preliminary survey may identify the groundwater conditions. A preliminary survey may identify the groundwater conditions, and taking these and other conditions into account, a reasonable basis for choice of groundwater development may be obtained. Identifying groundwater conditions, including determining the location and the physical properties of the aquifer, estimating the quantity and the quality, and determining depth to water table from the surface. The groundwater conditions will determine what kind of well may be constructed. Depending on these possibilities and on the local resources and economics costs are compared, and a choice may be made. finally, typical technical specifications for the well and pumps may be prepared. Guys, here the next step is preliminary hydrogeological survey methodology. In this review existing the A. Actually, in preliminary hydrogeological survey methodology, the one of the aspect is review existing geological and hydrogeological information. In most countries, geological and hydrogeological maps of a scale ranging from 1 by 20,000 1 by 2 lakhs to R 1 by 1 by 2 lakhs to 1 by 10 lakhs exist or are in the process of preparation and can provide essential information on aquifers, their extension, their boundaries, and their lithology, and on the depth of water level. This information is usually sufficient to determine whether or not the aquifers are continuous within the area considered for the livestock water supply project. In addition to the classical geological and hydrogeological maps, satellite images may provide complementary information on geological formations and structures. Aerial photographs may also be available, and geophysical surveys have been made for many regions. And the second one is the water well inventory. Information from an inventory of water wells is the basis for a more accurate identification of the aquifers, which will then be tapped in the framework of the future groundwater development project. From the data collected on the existing dug and drilled wells, it will be possible to establish the hydraulic continuity of the aquifer and to map the depth to water, the distribution of the good wells, the discharge of which exceeds a minimum value admissible for the considered purpose, and water quality. In the case of discontinuous aquifers, the data collected should also include dry wells dug or drilled in order to establish a correlation between as many parameters as possible. Well discharge is usually correlated with the nature of the water bearing formation, the formation fracture characteristics, if any, from air photo interpretation, the distance to important tectonic structures from satellite imagery and air photo interpretation, and the depth of penetration of wells into the aquifer. So here I will explain step by step. The first one is the nature of the water bearing formation. Here, guys, actually in groundwater, water stored or water available in different type of formations. For example, if we identified water bearing in igneous rocks, that means igneous rocks are is a less permeability, less porosity. Maybe it's a zero, but when we identify the igneous, when is the fracture or joints or fault zone is there, then only if is there any connection from the surface to the ground, if water flow through that one, that is the only option to identify the water in the igneous rocks. If we come to the metamorphic rocks, metamorphic rocks also different type of rocks is there. For example, if we identify the water in schist or in gneiss, those are the layer, those formations are layered by layer. If we identify groundwater to some extent, after exhausted of water, or after some time, that when we are using the water from the bore well, so the water goes to the down through the gneiss or cyst formations. So that is also is not a good, even though if we identify the igneous rocks. So and sedimentary rocks and limestones is there. If we identify the limestones, that water is not useful for drinking purpose, because limestone means it reacts heavily with the water. So calcium carbonate, the chemical formula CaCO3, is dissolved in the water. So that is not useful for the drinking. So that's why the nature of the water bearing formation also is a very important. The second one is the formation fracture characteristics. The formation fracture characteristics means already I explained. If we identified any fracture, joint or fault in igneous or metamorphic, that is the only option to identify the groundwater underneath the earth. If any, actually these information also we can get from the air photo interpretation. The distance to important tectonic structures from satellite imaginary and air photo interpretation. So if we taking the satellite imaginary and air photo interpretation, using both, easily we can identify is there any tectonic structures or tectonic forces. The tectonic forces also, it acts as a it acts or it forms also some fault zones, fracture joints is also is there, because those tectonics are is not a constant, it always moves from one to each other, or convergent or divergent process. So the depth of penetration of the wells into the aquifer. The depth also important. If we exceed the 600 meters or 600 feet, that water is not useful for drinking purpose. Because, for example, and again here I will give you three type of rock formations. If you go to the through 600 feet, for example, in igneous rocks, we are drilling up to depth of 600 feet or 600 feet. uh, Igneous rocks is nothing but just like the combination of the many type of minerals. So at the depth of 600 feet, that minerals are dissolved in the water. That water is not useful. And also the same application applicable to also sedimentary rocks, sorry, metamorphic rocks. If, for example, if the sedimentary rocks, that water is not a stagnant. It's depending upon their porosity and permeability and how many type of rocks existing in the aquifer. That is also one of the important. And here in many countries, this information has already been collected by the service reasonable for the water resources inventory, in which case the additional field investigations required will be limited to updating the inventory or checking questionable information. Next, additional investigations required for continuous aquifers. Here purpose. Actually, guys, these are all keep in your mind. These are all the groundwater exploration techniques. The purpose for continuous aquifers, there is usually no need for additional investigation, since extrapolations can be made from the data collected in the existing wells to predict the results of new wells. With regard to regional groundwater resources and the possibility of over exploitation of the aquifer in relation to the expected use of water for the livestock, the risk is usually small in the case of continuous aquifers, since the water demand is extremely small when compared to potential aquifer recharge. For example, a range land area receiving 300 millimeters annual rainfall and located in a zone where a continuous aquifer can be exploited may have the following characteristics. A carrying capacity of 10 hectares, and for 1 kilometer square there might be 10 TLU corresponding to potential water demand, including losses at the watering places of approximately 100 meters cubed per year. Over the same area, the average amount of precipitation will be 3 lakhs meters cube per year and maybe as low as 1 lakhs 50,000 meters cube 1 year in them. In the case of low rainfall, the water demand for livestock represently only 0.07% of precipitation. The, the recharge of the aquifer is very likely to be higher than 0.07% of precipitation. And guys, in the case of continuous aquifers, a preliminary survey of the area, which is often limited to the study of the existing information. Geological and hydrogeological maps and well inventory is usually sufficient to prepare the water supply project. The location of each watering place will then be based essentially on non-hydrogeological criteria, good graining area, and the spacing between wells to avoid overgazing, proximity of a village or a transhuman route. However, additional investigations may be necessary in areas lacking wells and near the boundary of the sedimentary basin or in the vicinity of an area of unacceptable water quality. Next, investigations in the vicinity of the basin boundaries. The problem usually consists of determining the extent of the aquifer or the extent of the saline water intrusion in the aquifer in order to locate future production wells successfully and avoid deterioration of the water quality with time. Electrical sounding distributed along profiles perpendicular to the limit of the basin and calibrated on reconnaissance boreholes or test wells are usually sufficient to solve this kind of problems. Next, investigations in area lacking wells. Here, guys, this problem may arise in some areas where the surface geology indicates the likely occurrence of aquifers, but no data are available to prepare the groundwater development project. There is no precise method for solving the problem since investigations will essentially depend upon the geological subsurface structure. The investigation program may therefore vary from one single reconnaissance borehole for the entire area where geological structure is flat and gently dipping to a sophisticated survey involving geophysics and several reconnaissance boreholes where the geological structure is complex. Planning additional investigations in areas lacking wells should be handled by competent groundwater specialist or nothing but a hydrogeologist or a geologist. So if we face this type of the problems, it's a better to consult a professional geologist or hydrogeologist or geophysicist also. But here geophysicist will just work as the he conducting geophysical survey in our prone area, and as the report he need to submit a geologist. So it's a better to consult a geologist. Now, additional investigations are required for discontinuous aquifers. Here, we need to using the remote sensing methods here. From the remote sensing methods, satellite imagery and aerial photographs are the important here. The digital nature of satellite image allows computer manipulations of the image to confirm any desired map projection and to enhance or extract specific levels of information. It is therefore advisable when a high definition of the ground elements is required to use enhanced imaginary, especially processed to identify and locate accurately. But guys, here I need to explain something. When we are using the remote sensing methods, that is a remote sensing is just we are using, it's not a direct evidence. Just this is the indirect evidence. For example, is there any forest, is there any desert, is there any oceans, or man accessible is not there. At that situation only we need to use the remote sensing methods. And also, even though we get the remote sensing data, that is useful to only just we need to get a preliminary idea about our problem, but that is not a solution. So remote sensing is the only first step. The second step is that directly we need to visit the location and identify the geological cross sections. Then only we can give the solution to those problems. So guys, here the hydrographic networks which may indicate the thickness and characteristics of the weathered zone as well as subsurface tectonic structure. Vegetation, which here vegetation means we have to observe some forest or cropping fields, whatever it may be, it belongs to the vegetation. Vegetation which may give information on shallow groundwater occurrences and lineaments connected with the geological structure. So next, this is belongs to the remote sensing methods, satellite imagery. The next one is the aerial photographs. Aerial photographs are a great help for sighting new wells in discontinuous aquifers. They are probably the most efficient and the cheapest tool to identify the small tectonic structures, which may result in a fracture of the bedrock and groundwater occurrence. Moreover, the use of air photos does not require particularly skill. The fractured zone of the bedrock are usually clearly visible, sometimes indicated by vegetation alignment because of the presence of water underground, and occasionally marked by sills or dikes of different rock types. Next, next one is the geophysics. So geophysics may be necessary in three main categories of situation. When more recent deposits, usually continental, cover the bedrock and are thick enough to hide its structure. When weathered or fractured zone are poorly identified by remote sensing, and when groundwater occurs within the weathered zone of bedrock, and productivity of wells depends upon the thickness of the weathered zone. For geophysical techniques can be used for the detailed investigations of discontinuous aquifers. The weathering of fractured bedrock zones results in the development of clay pockets which have a much lower electrical resistivity than the surrounding bedrock. This geological structure due to uh, preferential effect of the weathering on the tectonized axis can easily be located by electrical resistivity profile method. The increase of total porosity of the granite, gneiss, or sandstone in connection with the weathering process may result in the development of an aquifer thick enough to alter the electrical resistivity of the formation according to Echu's law. Here guys, the RF is equal to RW is equal to P to the power of minus M. Being here, RF is equal to the resistivity of the formation, RW is equal to the resistivity of water, P is equal to the porosity of the formation, M is equal to the cementation factor ranging from 1.5 to according to the nature of the bedrock. When P increases, the resistivity of the formation decreases and may offer sufficient contrast with the resistivity of the underlying bedrock to identified by electrical sounding. The speed of longitudinal waves is notably reduced in correspondence to the fracture zone of the hard rocks. The presence and location of fracture zone can be determined by the seismic refraction method also. Fractured zones of bedrock are often intruded by basic rocks like dolerites, which have a magnetic susceptibility significantly different from that of the bedrock. This may create a magnetic anomaly which can be identified and located by electromagnetic methods. These methods, although little used in hydrogeology, may be helpful to indirectly locate the fractured zones of the basement, provided that the weathered zone or the sedimentary overburden the thin. While almost anybody can apply remote sensing techniques, after a few days training, geophysical methods require high technical skill. Many developing countries have created their own geophysical surveys which are able to apply electrical methods, resistivity profiles, and electrical soundings at a much lower cost that the expertise specialized companies. Here, this is the examples of the figures, guys. So groundwater occurrence in the typical quartz sandstone sections, and here, guys, groundwater occurrence in two typical crystalline schist cross sections. For describing the recommended methods for selecting the best locations of well sites, capital letters indicate the leading method, which may even be sufficient in most cases. Here, guys, reconnaissance boreholes. In almost all situations, reconnaissance boreholes are necessary before establishing the production wells in discontinuous aquifers. The objectives of reconnaissance boreholes are to determine the groundwater occurrence and the depth to water, which affects the choice of both the production wells and the pump or water lifting device, and to determine the hydraulic characteristics of the aquifer in order to predict its yield and behavior. Three drilling methods commonly used are capable tool, rotatory, and down the hole hammer. A brief description of these drilling methods are given here. Groundwater resources in discontinuous aquifers. While the water demand for livestock is usually extremely small when compared to the potential yield of a continuous aquifers, the problem deserves more careful attraction. In the case of discontinuous aquifer, the amount of water in storage, which is limited to the fractures and fissures of the bedrock or to small pockets of weathered formation, may not be sufficient to supply waters to wells for the duration of the dry season, and may be very sensitive to the interannual rainfall variations, with the result that wells dry out during drought period. This is of course depends on rainfall, since in wetter areas the weather zone usually contains considerable water. In dry regions, the annual recharge of the aquifer may occur only over its actual extent, usually limited to the fracture zones a few meters wide, where the zone corresponds to the bottom of a valley, which can which concentrates the rainfall. It can be recharged from a wider catchment basin. Unfortunately, there are no completely reliable methods for evaluating the groundwater resources of discontinuous aquifers, since investigations are usually carried out with the objective of looking for the most productive zones without attention to the vertical and horizontal extension of the aquifer, which actually governs its storage capacity. However, the production test or aquifer test performed on reconnaissance boreholes may give clues to the response of the aquifer to water abstraction, and may guide the water planner in predicting the long-term behavior of the aquifers. Thank you, guys. This is our class. So finally, in this class, we understood the groundwater exploration techniques. Thank you, guys. I will meet you in next class. Thank you.